Hey friends, this is Gavin Hardkiss from Hardkiss Music in San Francisco, and you're listening to the Liverpool Connection Podcast.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Liverpool Connection Podcast. I'm your host, Daz. This is my football and music episodes where I bring on a musician who's into football and obviously into music. And I cannot wait to introduce my next guest. As everyone knows, I'm a house head. I'm into electronic music. I have been for, God, I'm 53 now. So I've been into the scene probably since I was about 15 years old. So I've had the best of both worlds. I've had raving in England, raving in the US, and I'm really happy and honored to bring on a man who has, I would say, changed things musically for me and for many people. It started on the West Coast, um, a brilliant label, Hardkiss Music, and one of the most amazing albums that I still listen to this day, Delusions of Grandeur. And so many amazing DJ sets, many amazing productions. He goes by Hawk. But it is the legendary Gavin Hardkiss. So welcome to the podcast, Gavin. Like I said, I'm honoured. I'm like a little kid in a sweet shop right now, just to be able to talk to you. But not only that, you're a Liverpool supporter. So you've just gone from here to up here in my book already. So that's a great start.
I'm looking forward to chatting with you. Thanks for inviting me. Very nice to meet you. And I'm so stoked to talk about like two things that I couldn't live without. They're like water and air to me. It's like football and specifically Liverpool and music.
So you're from South Africa. Uh,
Yeah.
I know you didn't come over to the States till what, mid 80s.
Yeah, mid late 80s.
So where did like Liverpool, when did Liverpool like come into your life?
So I grew up in Johannesburg, South Africa, and I lived there for 18 years. I finished high school there, playing soccer my whole life at a pretty high level. Um, but like we grew up without TV because it just hadn't come to Africa yet. And um, you know, I I think I was about 9 or 10. It may have been a bit earlier, but like, you could go to the magazine shop, the newspaper shop, and, pick up Match magazine. And I don't know, before that, I'm trying to think what the other names of the magazines were. So I was like kind of into soccer, English soccer. And then the only news we'd get is like Sunday morning newspapers with the league tables. So like I was seeing the teams and all of that. But the first satellite broadcast of a English soccer match in South Africa was the 77-78 FA Cup final, Man United playing Liverpool. And Man United won that game. And that's the day I became a Liverpool fan.
Oh, that's not a bad start. That kind of shows, that you really want to be a Liverpool supporter because many people probably for the first time if they saw that they'd be, United supporters. So, um, who was your Liverpool hero then growing up?
I mean, it was Kenny Dalglish for sure. Like I had in between my ABBA posters on my wall, I had Kevin Keegan posters on my wall and Liverpool team photos. And then that quickly switched to Kenny, when that switch happened, when he became the main guy there. But Kevin Keegan was my guy. Yeah, but like I had just a warmth for all the players there. And of course, when Bruce Grobbelaar became goalkeeper in the 90s, I mean, in the 80s, that was kind of a key moment because he had some connection to, Zimbabwe, South Africa.
Yeah, it's crazy because Kevin Keegan was mine as well. I always say this, I was on the cop when I was 6, and
Wow.
Kevin, this is 1976, so I only got to see Kevin for a year, and he broke my heart. Like, I ripped my poster up, and my granddad put it back together and said, "Don't you ever disrespect Kevin Keegan like that. He's gone, but there will be somebody else." But obviously, when you're a kid, you just don't think that. And it's kind of the same way with managers as well. After Shanks, no way did we think Bob Paisley was going to be as successful as what Shankly was. And I think the same thing goes for Kenny Dalglish. You never knew what Kenny was. He was good at Celtic, but you just didn't know the history that he was going to make for Liverpool. So, I'm the same as you. It was Keegan. I loved the sideburns. I loved, just the way he played. But then when Kenny came, I was like, after my, mourning period, I was like, all right, I think we got a new one. And then, yeah, it was Kenny for me as well.
Yeah, I didn't even know much about the German league, but like Hamburg, I'm like, I gotta visit Hamburg. Like, whoa, what's this place?
Hmm. But I mean, also, like when Kevin left, he won the Ballon d'Or twice with Hamburg.
Yeah,
So, hats off to him because he was. I think he was the first English player actually to have a big transfer. Because
shoot.
at, back in the day, a lot of English players just wouldn't go abroad, and I think he was one of the first ones. So hats off to him, even though he break my heart. But
Yeah, he might have been. I'm confused, and we don't have to get into it. Why he like this? It's 50 years later, but he's almost more attached to Newcastle than he is to Liverpool as an iconic player. I don't really understand that,
well,
but
I think it's more to do with him managing them as well.
yeah,
I think that's where the connection is as well. But yeah, I mean,
gotcha.
he's well liked in Liverpool and Newcastle. So I mean, you can't go wrong. Two great cities. One's got a lot more money than us right now, Newcastle. With the Saudis coming in.
It's
Um,
okay.
yeah, it's all right. I like the way we present ourselves. I'd like Klopp and Trent have both said they'd rather win trophies like we win them, and I'm 100% about that. We might not win as much as like City, but we all know how City have operated in the last 10, 12 years. So yeah, I'll stick with the way we do business.
Yeah, we're on the right side of history there.
So with the DJ thing, um, you've played in England before, haven't you?
Yeah, I haven't spent much time in England in my life, but I did a tour of like so many cities in England. I- Like I think it was 2000 and maybe 1999. I can't somewhere in there. No, it was a Euro year, so it could have been 2000 because I think the World Cup was 98. So I think it
Mm.
was 2000. Went over, was based out of Nottingham and played in Wales and in Ireland and Scotland and all over England, like from Brighton all the way to Hull. And obviously London, Manchester, everywhere. So it was a great tour.
So did you get to Liverpool? I think that's where I was kind of going is, if
Yeah,
you're
I
over,
did. I
so
didn't get to Liverpool, so I'd never been to Liverpool in my entire life, like childhood, adulthood, until I don't know, man, how many years ago? Like my brother and I made a pilgrimage there on Easter. It could have been 10 years ago. And we spent like literally 3 days there, and that's the only time I've ever been to Liverpool.
Mhm.
We want to
And
see Andy Carroll play.
oh, good Lord. Ow. All right, yeah, you're going back a few years now. Yeah. Yeah. So you did get to Anfield.
I did.
Now, let me ask you this because, obviously locals, they they get to be next to Anfield, and same with me growing up. I was a season ticket holder, and now looking back, I'm like very fortunate. Now, for you yourself, you just like many Liverpool fans throughout the globe, they go for that first trip. How is it walking up to Anfield for you?
Well, like it was more like a bird's eye view of it. It wasn't just like Anfield. It was like the neighborhood around it, which was like, you know, like still, and I don't know if it is to this day, but windows
Oh,
broke, and it was like really low in not even low income, like desolate neighborhoods. And then Stanley Park, and then looking out to um, Everton Stadium, and it was just like, what is this area? It's almost like out of a book. Like it's almost you could stage the biggest dramas in the world around that, like the Beatles references, all of that. So it wasn't just approach; it was like that whole vibe. Um, it really like took on a mythical feel to me the whole time. Just being around that.
mhm.
Um, Being in Anfield was epic, but like just being in the town of Liverpool around that, talking to cab drivers, seeing the animosity between the Everton and the Liverpool fans. Even went to a game at what's Everton's field, Goodison Park.
Yeah.
Like that was pretty epic in contrast, just because the teams are in such different um, uh, points in their success levels, and it's so intense, man. It's so amazing. Like I really want to go spend more time there.
Yeah, it's crazy because I'll always say like most of the cabbies are Evertonians, um,
Right,
and they really when they're taking you to Anfield, they like to have a nice dig at you or at the club, But at the end of the day, they're all Scousers, and they do take care of each other, and that's one thing that that I love and I miss is just the brotherly and sisterly love, that they have. Like if it's Liverpool Everton during a derby, can't stand each other. Like I have a couple of Blues in my family, cousins, and I can't stand them, during the game. But afterwards, it's like meeting up, having a pint, and just talking about football, but talking about life as well. And that's one of the biggest things I do miss. Not going like every other week to a home game, but yeah, some of the houses are still look like they've been bombed out, from World War II. It's still an area that still needs looking at and taken care of. But I think that the greatest thing I can say is that Scousers have gotten in there like Home Baked, the bakery. They've gone, all right, we've got to make something of this area. And
for sure.
they're doing it off their own back, taking out loans and, making a business. And I think that's really good for the community. But yeah, it's always nice, like to hear people, like yourself just saying, I made the pilgrimage. And I love that, lately there has been some animosity, locals against the global fan base. They call them day trippers and all this. I think that's wrong. I think if somebody gets up at 2 o'clock in the morning across the world to watch this football team, my hat goes off to you, you know, or
Yeah,
like you say, you save for 4 or 5 years to get a flight to England to go to Liverpool. You get a ticket and you go once in your lifetime. But and another hats off to you. If you're a Liverpool supporter, I don't care where you come from, the colour of your skin, your religion, I couldn't care less.
Yeah, man, I agree so much. And there's another thing I noticed, just witness being around, just like paying attention, is this generational thing of like fathers bringing their sons from other places. Like, like I went with my brother. I mean, and we have this connection, but fathers with their sons, this generational thing. You can't tell me Newcastle has that. Come on.
Well,
It's like,
I mean, they do, but I think on the scale of, Liverpool, it's totally different. I mean, like one of my biggest things is I'm hoping, I've got four girls that I'm going to take them, even though, yeah, they kind of like Liverpool because Daddy likes Liverpool,
yeah,
but it's something that I want them to experience. Like I see the videos of dads taking their younger kids walking up the steps at Anfield, and the kid just bursts out crying, and then the dad's beaming because he's so proud.
yeah.
That's what it's all about, you know?
Such pride, man. And I love like how almost superfluous it is, how like silly it is. It's like we're following like 11 grown men who like to kick a ball around. I like the simplicity of how just naive that is. I love it.
Mhm. Yeah, well, those 11 players get paid so much money. Times have changed. Again, like I said, I went in 76, so massive difference to how it was back then to how it is now. How do you think obviously football has changed tactically? It's a lot faster. The athletes
Mm,
aren't like sitting down on the side having a ciggy, having a
for
pint.
sure.
You know,
Yeah.
they're actual like they're like race horses. They're just pure muscle. How do you feel like, the football, especially under Klopp, that we've watched for the past 9 years has been some of the best football I've ever watched in my entire life. It really has. And,
For
I've
sure.
through Paisley, Dalglish, and that was great football, seeing John Barnes and Kenny Dalglish and Jan Molby on the same pitch, just absolutely amazing. But these past 9 years, I think we've all taken it for granted a little bit at how good we were. And again, we were up against, Manchester City, who, whatever they have, going on, with the books and all that, 115 charges, you put that to a side and you just watch these 11 players play on a pitch. City are a fantastic football team, but we've been up there with them. And how do you feel like from, when you first saw Liverpool to now? Because I talk with some of my mates and some older gents as well, and they kind of say they're falling out of love with football just because of VAR, just because the money involved. What are your thoughts on that?
I fucking love it, man. Like I don't care if it changes, what the evolution or devolution of the game is. It's inevitable. It's going to change. I think right now you have these supreme athletes, and they've been trained from an early age, like good race physical. We're there. We're back.
Yeah, you're back. You cut out for a little bit, but that's all good.
I was just saying, it's the speed and strength that's like all these players need to do in life is concentrate on their skill, speed, and strength, and improving, their like, and that's quickness of mind as well as quickness of feet, right? It's decision making as well as ball skills and off ball skills. Um, yeah, it's super impressive. And even watching the Euros right now, I'm seeing that type of speed and strength just being pervasive on every single team, whether it's Georgia or Germany. England are a little slower. They like to just have possession. They're not trying to like force their cards, but they have players who can. Bellingham did that in the first game, but yeah, it's a different game, and I think Klopp brought a thing to soccer, to football, that I didn't know was possible. Like, I didn't know that high press game was a thing. Like, where did that come from? That's new. I'd never seen that before. Um, and the athleticism that you need to do that and keep sprinting for 90 minutes, that didn't exist 10 years ago. Come on. There's
Yeah,
no way people could keep up with a 90-minute game. It's like running, half a marathon, definitely a third of a marathon at sprinting speed, as well as have the mind strength to deal with, more than just running.
yeah. I think it's just like players like Robinson and Fabinho when they first came. It took them about 6 months to get up to speed, just because the Premier League is really fast and physical. And I think that that's what happened with Endo as well this past season. It took him a while to, get up there. But yeah, I mean, again, we're watching like top level athletes that, like you said, it's not just, the running. Your mind has to be so quick. And I think, that's why some people will say about Darwin Núñez, there is a brilliant player in there, but when he has time to think, that's when he kind of misses these chances, because I mean, some footballers are just like Steven Gerrard could think outside the box, There's certain players, Modric from Real Madrid, Tony Cruz from Real, even Ronaldo, they think 10 steps ahead, and it's wonderful to watch. Some players just take time, but yeah, for me, I'm not falling out of like love with football. I'm just a bit like, the VAR stuff pisses me off because it's not VAR, it's the people who are behind VAR who can't seem to get it right. But you watch the Euros and they're getting it all right. You watch the
For sure. I mean, Liverpool, like as Liverpool fans, this last season is a different season if they make the calls correctly, which is what VAR is supposed to be there for. This is like Liverpool's experience this last year would make you fall out of love with, new technology in the game.
Yeah, well, it makes you, wonder, like, the Spurs goal that should have been by Diaz, which was just an absolute joke. They could have stopped the game and gone, okay, let's get this right. It was a goal. It's not a free kick to the other team, the Odegaard, the
The
Odegaard.
handball, yeah.
Oh, come on. I mean, it's just stuff like that just irritated me more. And then you have like the conspiracy theorists, like everyone's against Liverpool. I don't think everyone's against Liverpool. I just think it's inconsistent VAR officials and then referees making it about themselves.
For sure. But as a fan, and I don't know if it's because I'm like a mature fan, like I'm not as emotionally vested as I might have been a few years back. And I don't know what the few years gap is, but like it's not going to ruin my day. Like
Yeah.
I'll get pissed. There was a time when it would ruin my day and my weekend, right? There was an era where I'd and then there were certain years with Liverpool where I was just in the doldrums because they suck so badly. But the like bad games, and I forget about him after 10 minutes and I'm on with life.
Yeah.
I'm just such a, like, I still play football and I'm always around my son playing football and I watch football. It's like in my, it's in my daily regimen still. And it's not just watching a game is part of my experience. I just love the game. And it's, you know what I'm saying? I'm not just a fan, an observer.
Well, I think that's the way it should be. That when I was 16, I would probably throw the telly out the window, and I'd be pissed off for weeks upon weeks. But as you grow older, you do mature. And I think, especially for me now, I don't, obviously, I'm in America, so I don't go to the games as much as I'd like. And I used to go to the pub all the time, but now it's more family life. So I watch the games with me girls. So I've got to watch my mouth as well, which really helps. But you just get over it quicker. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
a final will probably hurt me for a little bit, but a game, just a Premier League game, I'll get over it pretty quickly nowadays because I'm like, there's more things to be upset about in this world than losing a footy match.
I'm so with you there. So with you there. Like, yeah, the world's topsy turvy, so the game's going to be topsy turvy. It's not always going to work out.
So what's your like expectations for this season?
I'm surprised that the players all sticking around. So, like, that's a good indication that there's some chemistry that they want to be a part of. Because the new manager's an unknown. I mean, the team's a known. So they're actually losing a lot of the fabric of what is off the pitch. But what is on the pitch is they're like, hey, let's keep this thing going. So that's really positive in my opinion. Like, I haven't heard any rumblings or seen anyone moving on other than the obvious retiring, the guys who honored when Klopp left. Um, I think there's a real strength to the team. Um, I think the team can just get better. I don't see it getting worse because I feel like there was compared to Arsenal and Man City this last season, they were, especially the second half of the season, they just weren't as good as they could have been. Like, and it's not just one or two players, it's many players who kind of fell off their game. So, like, I like to see Soboslai, hit another hot patch. I don't think he was that great the last 3, 4, 5 months. I'd like to see Trent get back to his best. Um, I'd like to see Salah get back to his best, although I don't know that he may be past his best. I don't know. That's a big unknown. I'd like to see Nunez like hit a stride, like maybe not be off sides for a few games in a row.
Yeah, that'd be nice, right? Well, I think, maybe with Nunes, I'm thinking a change in tactics, a change in manager might do him a world of good. Obviously we saw Klopp just look absolutely shattered. You could see it in his face, and he was ready, even though we weren't ready for Klopp to leave. I just think, like I said, just watching Slot and the interview, he's rekindled my passion a bit. I just wanted a football break,
Yeah.
and now I'm kind of like I'm ready for the season to kind of kick off. And like you said, keeping the core of this team is what we want. And Slot's going to give some of these young players a chance again, like Klopp did, which I'm really liking. I mean, Bradley, just amazing. Kwanzaa, wow,
Yeah.
just and
Yeah.
as a local lad as well. But I think last season it was just a bridge too far for us. I thought,
I'm gonna, like, unpopular opinion that I'm gonna express right now. I think the team was superb. I think I think Klopp's announcing his leaving was like the death nail to the team. And I think it was a bad move on his behalf to announce that mid-season because the team were flying high until he said that, right? Like, I mean, we were top of the league. We weren't out of any competitions. And if you look at the results from that day till the end of the season, they weren't great. So let's now that that's past us, let's just get back to like knowns rather than unknowns.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I'd like to see two fresh faces come in.
Who would you like to see?
That's a good question because I'm kind of like I'm like you, can Salah get back to his best? But for him, like he's been our top scorer for the last six seasons, so he's still putting in 20 goals a season. Has he lost a bit of pace? Of course he has. Um, Probably maybe a defensive midfielder, um, a centre back as well, just because Matip's gone. And
Hmm.
Pinote just seems like he can't stay fit for more than 2 or 3 games. So I'm a bit worried about that.
Yeah.
And obviously you've got to start thinking like, Verge, who I think's brilliant, but you've got to start thinking, he's only probably got 2 to 3 seasons left with us. So you've got to start bringing somebody in to, be deputized for him. I think we're good up front. But again, can Jota stay fit?
Yeah.
It's
I would say like watching these Euros, another unpopular opinion, like if we were to sell Salah, have him go up to Saudi, and I know these are pipe dreams, but like bring in a Musala who
oh,
just played for Germany today, or the kid who scored that goal for Turkey who plays for Real Madrid. Like those are two young strikers, so they're out there who can kind of be this new lethal linchpin for the next 5, 7 years.
mhm.
Because Nunez may hit his stride, he may not. But if there's a guy who replaced Salah of that caliber, but in his early 20s, late teens, 100 million, 150 million, yes. But obviously, the defense, central defense, we need to be thinking long term as well.
Yeah, I love Endo. I do. I think he's brilliant. When we signed him, I'm sure everybody was like, "Who?" He's 29, which FSG usually don't buy 29-year-olds, and I was surprised by it. But it took him a while. But I love the young lad Bashetic. I think he's going to be absolutely brilliant. But again, he's young, and you can't put, especially defensive midfielder, you can't put all that pressure on the young lad's shoulders. So I think maybe bringing in, a 25, 26-year-old who's a solid defensive midfielder, maybe not world class, but somebody who's, knows the Premier League. I mean, I even like the couple of the lads from Crystal Palace.
For sure.
You
But
know,
McAllister slotted in really nicely in that kind of role. But I know we need someone else.
well, he's not.
Um,
He's not a six. McAllister is just not a six. He plays so much better if he's further up the field. I still can't believe we got him from Brighton for 35 million. I feel bad. I feel like we should go back to Brighton and give them an extra 50 and go, sorry, we shortchanged you. Here you go. Here's some extra money. But I'm just looking forward to the new season already now. I just think, again, you keep 90% of the team, bring in two fresh faces. I think, uh, I just think we have to give Slot time, and I think uh, Liverpool supporters will. Twitter supporters won't because they it's win 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 or get out of my club. It's just
yeah.
we're not like that. We're not like Chelsea's of this world where they change a manager every 6 months.
We've
Um,
actually been through that period. Thank God it's over.
Well, Hodgson was he should never have been anywhere near our club. That
Yeah, also the Douglas caretaking years. That I think that's when I was at Anfield. That just wasn't necessary.
yeah, it was tough, and the way also, he Dalglish kind of got sacked was they brought him to Boston and then said, yeah, we don't need you anymore. I was like, well, at least you said it to his face. But um, Now that we've spoken about Liverpool, I want to speak about music.
Yeah, man, let's do it.
Because I, like I said in the beginning, like I've been in this scene for a very long time, and you are legendary. I mean, the Hardkiss brothers are absolute legends in your own right. You tell me your journey. I know you moved from South Africa. You went to uni in Pennsylvania, and then the bright light went off, the light bulb moment. I need to move to San Francisco, and that was with Robbie, right?
No, it's a little different. So I was playing like varsity soccer in the United States. I came over from South Africa after high school, where I was playing at the highest level, for my state. And, I was playing in South Africa. We had curtain raises, like the game before the professional game, you know. So I was playing in front of like 20 or 40,000 people like every couple of weeks and loving that life of soccer in front of a huge crowd. And then, I finished high school and I wanted to come to university here in the United States. I ended up in Texas, actually in San Antonio at a university called Trinity University. So as a freshman, I walked onto the team there. And we had a travel team. So, we played in Mexico. We played in the town I live in now, San Rafael here in California. Played in Minneapolis, or I don't know, somewhere up north. It was mediocre but good. American soccer standard wasn't that great at that point. I was the only international player on the team. But then I transferred to University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia, and I got in touch with the soccer coach there, and I was like, I want to try out for the team. And he was like, well, the team's already spoken for, and you're not recruited. I'm like, can I come to preseason training? And I convinced him that I could go to preseason training. So I'd never been to Philadelphia in my whole life. And I showed up on campus and started training with this team. And he was an American coach, and he almost had an American football way of teaching, training soccer. So there was a lot of off the ball or non-ball work, like conditioning. And we're doing twice a day. And I got injured after about 4 or 5 days. I couldn't tell you what it was, strained to the knee. And so I walked off that team. And I didn't know anyone in Philadelphia. I just went to college. I was in this dormitory, and there was one South African guy on campus, and he came to visit me because I couldn't leave the room because my knee was on ice. And he was like, hey, what are you into? And I said, I'm into, music and stuff. He's like, hey, there's this kid who was on my floor last year. Maybe you'd like to meet him. He's a music guy too. I'm like, okay. So I limped over to the quadrangle on the Penn campus, and this guy, Trevor, the South African guy, introduced me to Scott. And Scott was on the phone in his room, and like I checked out his CD collection, and we had the same taste. So before I even met him, I'm like, I know this guy and I are gonna get along. So that's how I met Scott, who became we started Hardkiss together. And we just did a lot of cool things, with club life and DJ life, which I can go into heaps of detail what all of that was. But let's just say we could put Glastonbury in there, and Frankie Bones, and the whole Brooklyn crew, and Josh Wink and King Britt in the Philadelphia crew, and we just inhabited that whole music world. And then we graduated from school, and Scott, I think, got a degree in English. I got a degree in economics, and all I wanted to do was start my own business. And Scott was like, hey, Scott and Robbie went to high school together in Maryland, and Robbie was in San Francisco, and Scott was like, let's go out to California and just do music stuff. This rave thing is going to hit the US, and let's just go see what it's like. We can go stay with Robbie. And I was like a little bit business minded. I'm like, yeah, and maybe we can start a record label. So yeah, man, we literally packed his Saab with turntables, CDs, and records, and drove from Philadelphia to San Francisco in the summer, like May, June of 91. And we just showed up and we're like, hey, Robbie, join us. We're doing this thing. Let's roll. We're gonna throw parties and DJ and start a record label.
Like cuckoo. That's the thing, you know. It's you go where your heart needs to go. I think, you know. I think it might have been different if you come to Texas or you'd come somewhere else. I think obviously, you know, the West Coast was drawing you in.
I really think like life works like that. It's, you know, I think we think there's causality in life. We think like one thing leads to another, but I think there's retro causality. It's almost like your future's pulling you towards something. It's not your past. And you're just like following the crumbs into this future thing that's almost pre-designed. You can't get away from it.
Well, how was it though? You know, San Francisco, obviously, you know, you had Wicked Crew, you had Dub Tribe, and then Jonah Sharp and Freaky Chakra, Charles Webster.
Yeah.
You know, so they they were just like you lot as well, wanting to do something. Were you all, you know, all mates, or was it because I know, like, you know, halfway kind of through the rave scene, a lot of promoters, like, you know, stabbing each other in the back. The friendship thing kind of went out the window. How was it for you and like the other crews?
You know, it's like anything, man. It's you know, you have your personal favorites, the people you get along with, and then there are people you don't get along with, regardless of what they do. Um, so, you know, it's just there's some personality clashes, but all in all, there's like appreciation for a musical contribution. Um, and those contributions are somewhat different. You know what I mean? Like, it was always my interest to like create the artifacts, like to produce the music, to make the records, to make the albums. Like that was the thing I was interested in. I wasn't interested in playing live. Like, and after some point, I wasn't even interested in throwing big parties. Like, I didn't want to do that. And then of the names that you've mentioned, some were more interested in, you know, a big party community kind of collection of where people can get together and throw down. And I love that. I participated in that and I appreciate that. But that wasn't my dream, my aspiration. Nor was like, you know, playing live shows or geeking out on electronics. So, you know, we all kind of fell into this interesting time warp that was San Francisco in the early 90s with, you know, different kind of skill sets and different ways to imagine how to push the envelope. Mm-hmm. So I think it shows the colorful aspect of what was going on, that, you know, there were a few different, it wasn't just like, you know, bands signed to a label, like some other music movements. It was like a few different things going on. There was party throwers and live acts and DJs and labels. You know, we were all doing all different things.
Mm-hmm. Well, it just all seemed to come together for you, Scott and Robbie.
Yeah, it was quite a like come together is the right word. It was almost like we we put together a plan of what we wanted to do, and then we executed it, and we couldn't believe that how successful it was. It was like there was no accidents there. It was like, you know, I made a spreadsheet. I'm like, this is how much money we need to put out 3 records or 4 records. We went and borrowed the money from an Irish gangster, and then went in the studio and made 3 or 4 records, and then released them to the world, and the world responded. I mean, people really loved what we did, and it was almost like, people thought that that was the sound of San Francisco, what we were doing, but it was the Hardkiss sound. San Francisco was doing its own thing, but we got kind of stamped with that label, the San Francisco sound, and it was just because we had these records that were going global, and it was like one after another after another.
Well, I mean, God Within, Rain Cry. Um, I don't have enough words to really describe, like, first hearing it. I remember first hearing it and just going, this is totally something different that I've ever heard in my life. And it's
Yeah.
a very ethereal song. It really does get your soul. And it's
Scott killed it on that song. I mean,
mm,
I was in I like we were in this little area in San Francisco called Twin Peaks. We were all living in this one house, and I went out and bought a bunch of equipment. I'd never made music. I'd never touched an instrument before in my life, but I was like, I got to learn how to do this because that's how we're going to move things forward. So I bought a sampler and a sequencer, set it up in the garage, and then would mess around with samples down there. And like, I remember it like it's yesterday, like Scott got the vocal sample from a CD that Robbie had in his room. And then he had the break on this like breaks CD that he probably bought out of the back of Mix Mag or DJ Mag or one of those. And then we're like, we met some people who actually had a decent studio in Silicon Valley, and we just drive down there with our samples, and these guys, Ultraviolet Catastrophe, they helped us flesh out that sound. But Scott was really good at how he timed his sequence. Like, he let things hold until they burst. And that song's a really good example of that. Like, things go on for a long time, but they never feel like they do. And it's the timing on it is just perfect. The emotion is perfect. The timing's perfect.
well, being in the studio and now, getting that produced. Did you all like? 'Cause I always like to ask musicians this about their own music. Did you just look at each other and just go, "This is it. This is the one that's gonna."
I don't think so. Yeah, I think we were just, we were experimenting and doing what we could, things that like got our ears, piqued up our like curiosity, like, or just met us in that place that was like Creation Records, Cross, RNS, like Creation, Warp, RNS. There wasn't much American music that sounded like what we were making, but a little bit indie, a little bit techno, and definitely like this funky thing that was the breaks, that was just hip hop beats sped up. So this is pre-jungle, pre-drum and bass. It was breaks hadn't really surfaced yet. It's pre Fatboy Slim. It's like some pre Chemical Brothers. And we just knew it was like a combination of things that hadn't been done yet. Like, we had that feeling like this is something new, but didn't really grasp that it would be like the roots of so much that came afterwards. Like Digweed and Sasha don't have a sound without that sound. I'm sorry, right? They're whatever they're doing is always connected to that, whether people know it or not.
Well, it's a testament to Rain Cry. I mean, it was on their Northern Exposure
Yeah. Yeah,
mix.
we had, and also the Rabbit in the Moon song, which we put out as our fifth record, that was also on Northern Exposure. So there were two songs from our catalog on Northern Exposure that really got those two songs to a bigger audience than we could ever from our little label in San Francisco. And those guys built a sound around that. And I got to be perfectly frank, like I don't think I've ever heard Northern Exposure. I've heard a lot of people talk about it. Like I've never listened to it.
Mhm.
Because I feel like, I'm I connect to it through Delusions of Grandeur, which featured the same song. So that's my reference point. I'm a little bit funny like that. It's like the places that our music showed up in its most distributed form, I just didn't really go to. I didn't, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how to put it. It's like I think there was this movie, shit, what was it called? There was a movie that our friend Wade Hampton, um, he did he did the soundtrack for, and I think Digweed was in the film.
Oh, Go.
Is I don't think it's Go. I think it's a different one, but it may I don't know, maybe Go. But like I've never seen it. I just stay. I don't know. I don't know what that is. Well, let's move on. I don't know. I have to go to a psychiatrist to figure out that one.
No, but I mean, you've just given like we speak about delusions of grandeur, and you look on Discogs right now, and it's going like the vinyl is going for a lot of money.
Oh
It's
yeah.
it's just it's the perfect album for me. It just is because if I'm sad, I can put it on. If I'm happy, I can put it on. It's very emotional for me. Because it it's brought me to a time, that, I lost my mom, lost some friends along the way, and it's helped me through it. And, it's just stood the test of time. I mean, you're making these tracks again, that came out in 95. This is 2024 and it's still talked about. I mean,
Yeah,
that,
it's really valid. Like what we made there was pretty timeless. Like it's so easy to make cheesy music. It's so hard to make music that like stands the test of time, and we accomplished that. It really connects. There's something that we were doing there, and Scott was playing bigger clubs and bigger audiences than me or Robbie, and he was traveling the world. I was illegal in the United States then, so I couldn't leave the country. So I was pretty much bound in San Francisco, just running the label for those Delusions of Grandeur years. But we were bringing like a emotional quality to the dance floor, which um, most DJs would never do, and most audiences would have a difficult time with.
yeah,
And to be able to do that was taking a huge risk. And you don't often see that. Like you might see DJs or hear DJs like go there a bit with their last song or something.
mhm,
But I tell you what, man, I went to see Fred again last week here, and Fred does that. And watching Fred do his show and seeing the emotional connection that he makes through music with his audience
mhm.
really, really reminded me of those early Hardkiss days.
Yeah. And I mean, you listen to the lad. I mean, he's a boy genius. You know, I don't like this. I don't like the DJ stuff he does with Skrillex.
Yeah.
just because Skrillex spends more time standing up, away from the decks. And to me,
Yeah,
if you're DJ, you're full on concentrating on, I mean, I know the cliche of a DJ supposed to take you on a journey. You and Robbie and Scott took me on a journey. Nowadays people will go, that's just a bunch of bullshit. A DJ's there to make you dance. Well, a DJ is there to make you dance, but is also supposed to take you on a musical journey. And
yeah,
I love what you just said. Like, there wasn't many people taking you to that level like you guys were.
yeah. Yeah, there's some DJs who, yeah, I'm just trying to think, like, what's his name from the Loft in New York? Uh, fuck, I can't remember. He used to do that. You know, I'm, you know, Frankie Knuckles probably would do that.
Mhm.
Um, but most hard-hitting DJs are trying to like bang it out, right?
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah,
mean, times have changed, and I always sound like a granddad when I start talking like this. It was better in my day and all that. I don't want to be that person, but I just think today the DJ will mix out within 2-3 minutes, and I love the longer mixes.
yeah.
Where
We have some patience for a build of sound. Like it's about a 2 hour journey, not in it's not what happens in 5 minutes. It's what happens over a couple of hours.
uh,
I don't know what that is, but I was mentioning pre-show that I have an exciting next 5 days ahead of me, and like it, we might think that this time has passed us. This some of the references we're using, which is music for journey, like journeying music, or longer sets, or being patient with the artistry that is what a DJ does, or longer mixes. Even the nature of laying songs on top of each other seems to be a lost art form right now, because everyone's trying to like just get to the next drop or to the next song. But so the legacy of San Francisco is still encapsulated. Like a lot of like San Francisco's changed as much or more than any other city that's gone through this technical revolution that is the last whatever 25, 30 years. Probably more so than any other city. And some would say it's lost its heart and its soul, and it might have, but there's there's a crew that still does shows, and has kept doing them. And I'd say they're like if Hardkiss, Wicked, Dub Tribe, Jonah Sharp was a first generation. Sunset Sound System are the second generation, but also I didn't fold them into that first generation. And there were, a couple of DJs doing free parties. And then they started doing a camp out, like a sunset camp out. I gotta say 20 years ago, but it's probably more than that. And this weekend might be the final one, right? Like it might be, we'll see. But so I'm heading out tomorrow up into the Sierras, about 4 hours from here on the Eel River, to be with I'm sure there'll be about 1,000 ravers, clubbers, artists, DJs on the river, maybe 3 different sound music areas, daytime with floaties in the river and 1 sound system, and nighttime all night, 3 different sound systems. Who's playing there? I'm not playing there. I'm just going to go hang out. Actually, I have some music that some DJs are going to play because I have a new album, and I played it to them. They're like, holy shit, I need to play this out there. So I'm excited to hear my music played out there. But who's playing out there? Idiot Boys are
Oh,
playing.
wow,
That's
nice.
gonna be that's gonna be sick. Josh Wink's playing. Mark Farina's playing. Cassie is from England. I'm not sure who she is, but the name kind of resonates from.
Yeah,
She's probably old school.
yeah, she is. She plays mostly vinyl. But yeah, no, she's bang on like some good house.
Yes. So I think there's one or two DIY DJs. I think one DIY DJ, and let's just say like another 30 DJs on the roster. So it's like gonna be, it's just gonna be, it's gonna be sick, dude. So like I'm ready to switch off and go into that zone and be in that, encapsulated by that spirit, which isn't far off from any memory that you have from the 90s. And
Well,
it's going on this weekend.
that's what I kind of like about you as well, because this day and age, someone like yourself would go, well, if I'm not playing, I'm not going to go. And you're going because some mates are going, but you want to
Yeah.
experience. I think
I'm also going because I've been raising a family for like 20 years and I've been missing a lot of these experiences because you're like the demands of being a dad and like just making it. It's not easy. And my kids are pretty grown up now. So I'm at the point where I'm ready to like really, not only dip my toes back in that, but I really want to like jump back in.
I don't blame you. Yeah, I've I haven't been to a club or a rave in God knows how long.
Shit.
It
Yeah.
doesn't stop me. I've got my setup here. I play for my girls. We have a little dance party usually every Friday night, so I keep that.
Awesome.
But before we sign off, I wanted to talk about Hawk as well. You've got that's another brilliant like side project of yours. The three nudes again. It just talks to me. Like
Thank you.
it's got that subtle break beat, and it works so beautifully. And you've got the remixes out. Nick Warren, I mean, again, Nick, fantastic progressive house producer and DJ. I thought he did a brilliant job on it. It's not like the original, he's done it
Well,
in.
the Nick Warren remix is not of Three Nudes. He remixed a different song. He
Oh,
remixed a
that's
song
right.
called,
That's
yeah. I remixed my own versions of Three Nudes, but Nick's remixed a song called "The Bells of San Rafael."
that's right.
Or
Got those mixed up.
yeah, yeah, and he did such a great job. I love Nick. I think I'm going to see him later this, maybe in a week or two. He's playing here.
Oh, is he? Yeah,
Yeah,
he's brilliant DJ and producer.
brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
But you do have the acid funk remixes on Dirty Bird. Uh,
Yeah,
Again, bringing a classic back, and I do like the bootleg mix that you've done. You know,
yeah, man, that one worked out really nicely.
and when you do go out and you do hear other DJs play, again, that's do you just go, all right, I'm still doing
Um,
something tonight.
yeah, well, I'm really a music snob, as I'm sure you are too. So like, I'm really discerning at what I go out to see.
Mhm.
Like, I can't just go to the local or any night out and just have a wildly good time. I can, yeah. So, but fortunately, San Francisco is still a town that a lot of good talent come through. And, I get to see my favorite international DJs when they come through. And that's always a joy, getting to see people whose productions and expressions are inspiring me. Um, but like anything, they're going to be 30 DJs this weekend, and I'll probably love two.
That's like going in a record shop, isn't it? And taking 100 records and buying one. Yeah, I used to spend hours upon hours and just leave with one, and piss off the record store owner. Look,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
like
yeah,
just spent 4 hours here, Daz, and you've bought one. I go, well,
yeah.
the rest of shit. What do you want me to do?
Yeah, I mean, really, somebody should make a documentary of this coming weekend. Actually, the song, so my friend Shauna, she's DJing at 7 a.m. on Saturday morning.
Okay.
And I have this song called Psychedelic Woman. And she was like, I gotta play it. So I got it mastered for her this last week. She played it at Lightning in a Bottle 2 weeks ago and mastered, and she said it sounded great. So I got it mastered for her. And I just really, part of me just wants to take a video camera out there this weekend and make the video for Psychedelic Woman.
Hmm.
That's what I'm looking forward to. Just being around the frivolity and the people letting it go. Just
It'll be nice. It'll be nice to see. But
yeah, all the 45-year-olds in bikinis. Can't wait.
and that's just the men. Mankinis these days. Oh, no, thank you. Well, Gavin, it's been an absolute honor for me to have you on. I've got so many other questions for you, but that could probably be another podcast. I could bring you back on halfway through the season. We'll talk about, hopefully, we're top of the league. Bring you back around
Yeah.
that. But there's so much more musically I'd love to talk about. But, again, we could go on forever. Like, we both like footy, we both like music. That's what it's all about.
Anytime, Daz. I love telling stories and just laughing at this weird preoccupation that we have with round things, flat and circular round things.
I'll leave it on that. Well, Gavin, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
All right, peace, man. Have a great time.